What's up, man? Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Nothing. Just I was working up until like an hour ago, a little less, a little more.
I didn't work today. I just went and did an estimate, and I had to get tires on my truck.
Oh man, yeah. My brother got the truck worked on yesterday. Man, I still keep getting jobs. It's crazy. It's so far so good this year. Finally.
Yeah, same here. My phone is ringing like a couple times a day at least. I
Yeah, and
got
it's
a
all like
fucking
old customers for me.
oh yeah, I got a bunch of new ones plus all the old ones this year. I got to go look at like three more jobs tomorrow.
Damn.
Bro, I haven't been fucking sleeping. All dude, we
Yeah.
did like 42 hours in 4 days this week, and I couldn't sleep till like after midnight each day, each night.
Wow. Yeah.
It fucking
Yeah.
sucked.
During Ramadan, I'm out there. Like this year, it's basically I'm out there at the mosque till 11. And luckily, I have my motorcycle now. But it's rough every year, and it's like a lot of people doing that. Like, I mean, not most people, but like there's a steady crowd every night. And they're out there. They're doing it late.
I didn't realize it was
They,
till that late.
well, the prayers at night are because you break. It begins with at sundown when you break fast, and then you go on the observance, which is purely optional. It's not obligatory like the fasting, but the observance that they do at the mosque eating together. Yeah, the prayers at night, the night prayers. Oh yeah, they're late. And then the last 10 days, I don't have anything to do with this part. But last 10 days, people can like stay in there and they pray all night and stuff like that. No, I've never done anything like that. That's kind of off the chain of me, but that is the
I could
tradition.
not do that. Well, I could
But
not
there are
do that
people
and
that
then go to work the next day.
oh no, of course, but there's a lot of people that do that retired. I could see
Oh,
that.
right. Yeah.
I could
Yeah,
see
just sleep
that.
the next day.
Yeah.
I tell you,
But no, they
there was a
stay.
time when
Actually,
I
what they
could.
do is they stay there. They just camp out.
Oh, really? Okay,
That's the
cool.
tradition. Yeah.
There was a time when I could stay out till like 4 or 5 in the morning and still go to work the next day, but I cannot do that at all. If I
I'm
don't,
never like that.
I
Nah.
can't do it. If I'm even like an hour or two late getting to bed, I feel like shit the next day. It's like I need my fucking sleep. But
Yeah.
uh, well,
Yeah.
I'll give him
No,
another
I know how
little
that is.
bit here, but if he doesn't show
What,
up
what, what,
here
he,
soon,
what was the last
we're
thing he
gonna run
said?
out of time. What?
What was the
What?
last thing he said? What
Uh,
was the last thing he that Paul said?
let's see. He says it's 2:30. Okay, need to take care of some things and charge my phone. I said okay. And he says cool at 2:07.
Uh,
So I don't know.
well, well, hopefully he's not. He shouldn't have any issue getting into the room.
No, I mean he hasn't texted me having a problem. So
Yeah.
I'll give him another little bit, but honestly, if it gets too much longer, we might have to reschedule because we got another one at 4, and I at least need a break, a little bit of a break in between.
Yeah. I technically don't. I just needed to pray, and I don't need to eat anything or go to the bathroom. That's one thing I don't have to do. Really. Tired though, man. Oof.
Me too. I'm fucking exhausted. I almost thought about canceling both of them, but I was like, God damn it! I rescheduled with Paul like twice, or he
Yeah.
has, or whatever. But and it's fucking Sheldon Richmond. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, but man, I'm tired, and I thought I didn't. So I wasn't expecting the Paul thing, but it worked out. Like we got enough work done. It's fun. We had to spend a lot of time on the road, hauling mulch.
mm, yeah, I did a lot of that last few days.
Yeah, we're 3 yards maximum city where we can get by doing that because it's this town it's not very big landscapes or lawns. I mean, that's why we don't have a big mower already.
Oh right, yeah.
It
Honestly,
wouldn't even be
sometimes
useful.
those are better. Those small lawns, especially if you got a few of them in the same area.
If they're close by, then you can
if they're
actually
close
really
by.
make bank doing that specifically. Yeah, doing a lot of quantity of individual lawns because each of them are going to pay you a minimum of a certain amount of money just for showing up.
Right.
And so, yeah, you can,
But
we could. I mean,
it's the travel time that'll kill you though if you don't have them like close by.
yeah,
But
yeah. Well, we're getting to the point where we can do routes that actually make sense.
I think I can fit like 10 or 12. Yeah.
No,
I
I can't
maxed
fit.
it out
I ain't
one
nowhere near that.
time. I think I fit 10 or 12 in there in my trailer. Pretty
Oh, 10 or
sure
12
yards.
yards?
Yeah.
Oh, 3 here. Yeah.
I can
I
fit
wish it
like 4.
dumped.
Well, I can fit way more than 4 ton of rock, but I can't really even tow more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Of course. Yeah. That's
I
like a ton.
could probably do 5, but that would be fucking heavy. I've never done that yet.
Well, luckily we don't deal with rock.
No.
I mean, rarely we have,
I,
but
I do a
I can't say something we
fucking
normally
ton
do.
of rock jobs. That's like half
Really,
of
we
what I
did
do. Yeah.
yeah, we did a drainage job. We had some rock for that, but we got it delivered. And other than that, it's maybe once, twice, a couple times a year. There he is.
Hey, Paul.
Oh, where's he at?
He's on my screen.
Oh, there he is. I was talking about his cam. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good?
Is the lighting good?
Lighting good?
Yeah, you look fine.
All right, cool.
All right. We kind of have a hard stop at like 3:15 ish.
Sounds good.
We'll try to keep this on the short side.
I'll try to not have diarrhea of the mouth.
No, that's what we're here for, man.
All right.
All right, so let's just get rocking and rolling then. Hold on.
You're live.
Yeah, we're already recording, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've just been running the whole thing. Oh, actually, we've been podcasting this whole conversation. All right, great.
Mm.
All right. Well, here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Old Punks Never Die. They just moved to the back, a biography of Paul Cripple. This is part 2 in the series. If you haven't heard part 1, please go ahead and check that out. Couple things before we get started. My laptop camera shit the bed, so you will not be seeing me on video this time around. We tried fixing it, couldn't get it to work. Don't know what's wrong with it. I probably just have to take a shotgun to the laptop and get a new one. Number 2, I started microdosing mushrooms again, and this time around, it has given me a bad case of insomnia all this week. So I'm running on very little sleep, and I had a long week. So forgive me if my brain shits the bed completely throughout this interview.
Understandable.
So, Paul, welcome back, man, and a happy belated birthday to you. How's it going?
Thank you for the birthday wishes. It's going good. Can't complain.
That's good. That's good. You have a good birthday?
Good enough. Not really.
Actually, yes, it was.
It was
because you had a rough 3 weeks, and then on your birthday, you finally, like had some good sleep. Things were functioning right. Yeah, you were fucking tired, but you were better.
okay. So it was better.
Had a good day of rest, it sounds like. That's good.
Yeah. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Well, so last time we talked about your childhood and growing up and meeting Dave and whatnot. So you were raised by immigrants in the Queens and the Bronx, sort of a lower middle class background. You met Dave and Surgeon in I think it was like 4th grade. And you said something along the lines that he made you a better person. He was into more, so let's say, intellectual pursuits. Could you expand a little bit more on that? Like, what was he reading? What did he get you into? That kind of stuff.
First and foremost, what he knew more than anyone else, including my sister, who was 3 years older than both of us, was music. His father never allowed him out. At 3 o'clock, the bell would ring. We would all leave school and we'd pick up a basketball or grab our baseball mitt or put on skates and pads and pants and grab the hockey stick and get electrical tape from the Con Ed guys, and that was the puck. And I mean, we had fun. Dave tried doing that once, to play football with us. His father showed up, twisted his ear all the way home. He was allowed out on the weekends. You got to see him on a Saturday, maybe a little on a Sunday, and then it was only time you saw the guy was in school. I like that he knew more about music than my sister, it was the 70s. White boy rock was humongous. You're talking about 60, maybe, I don't know how many shows, maybe 50 or 60 rock shows at Madison Square Garden. I remember watching this interview with this man who was talking about the funeral of he's a famous singer, Sam Cooke, and he said the funeral was humongous. It was like a rock concert, And when you think of the California Jam 1974, what was that? 800,000 people watching Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I mean, it was pretty formidable music amongst, white boys, and David knew more about music than the grown-ups. So that attracted, that was like an attraction for me. I started playing guitar. He said I play piano. We got together. We jammed out. It was also around that time when we were still young kids in junior high, and our third friend, Russell, and that was like David's best friend. And I just wanted to bring that up because David couldn't be like best friends with me. Like when he won an award and had enough money to take, like $500 for writing a great essay or something, he would take, his friend Russell and his parents and Russell's parents out for dinner with the award. It would have been too awkward to have my parents and his parents. I remember his father came looking for David once in my apartment, and my dad had given my mom a black eye, and Dave's father shows up all pissed. Where's my son? And my mom opens the door all depressed with the black eye. And he's like, and I'm like, he ain't here. And he's like, okay. He just leaves. He had to be there. He had to be there. It was kind of funny. But yeah, David was like, basically kind of like, Jim Morrison in the Doors movie. Like, I hate my father, then you should kill your father. I mean, he didn't say that, but basically my father was miserable. My father was the drunken maniac that scared everyone in the neighborhood. Dave's father was this like curmudgeon, like guy who was a grandfather when everyone else had fathers. He had a grandfather for a father. Like, why is your dad 20 years older than everyone else's dad, Dave? And that was like another weird aspect. But he kind of convinced me, don't like fall for what like our parents believed in, because it's just not true. And I always wondered what he meant by that, but I knew what he meant. Like, you have to go out and you can't, like if it was up to Dave's parents, David would have been a doctor or a lawyer. His father always said that my son could have been a doctor or a lawyer. He didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. He needed to be David Surgeon. And that was something that like, I need to be something besides these, my parents' son. I mean, the last time, and even Beatrice met my parents the last time, and she saw that there was just no way, I could be with, I mean, now my father's dead and all that. And even though my mom's alive and my sister's alive, they don't want to have anything to do with me. And the feeling is mutual. I mean, I don't want to have anything to do with them. Last I saw, my sister's following Elon Musk. She's following him, and she has to hide her social. All right, this is something I want to talk about. It's mad out of the blue, but I have to talk about this. Okay. My sister always called me a drug addict, and her husband, who was of Greek descent, would always call me Mastura, drug addict, drug addict, drug addict. Well, her son, she didn't want me hanging around her son, even though I was very tight, and I was Uncle Paulie to my little nephew, Peter. And they kicked me out, and I never came back home. And when I didn't come back home, I stayed with my friend, and then I moved in with Dave. And all the while this was happening, they were putting the worst ideas into my nephew's heads, into the point where my nephew ended up murdering his girlfriend in the most brutal, horrific fashion. I mean, chopped her up, scooped the eyeballs out, left the samurai sword sticking out of her buttocks, the worst possible thing. And then when that happens, 3 days later, my dad dies. But that's not important, because I start getting calls from this dead girl's friends. And they're like, do you think your nephew also killed that girl that was jogging in Howard Beach? That was your niece's best friend, and your nephew had his mother-in-law lived in Howard Beach. And the sketch artist said it's a white guy that they, was seen running from, a unshaven white guy, and it kind of looked like my nephew. And they took the police took the DNA of 700 black guys after that. And so my nephew probably, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure that one out. Definitely murdered Karina Vetrano.
Allegedly.
No.
Allegedly.
It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure that one out. And with him in jail over killing Mindy Singer, his girlfriend, there's an innocent boy named Chanel Smith, 15-year-old, black boy of Caribbean descent, that they threw in jail for murdering this girl. He murdered this girl while jogging, and they wouldn't even convict him on the mutilation of the sexual organs. They're like, come on, this 15-year-old boy actually mutilated sexual organs. We're not even going to convict him on that. It was a hung trial. The second jury hung trial. The judge made him come back with a conviction, and the prosecutor that prosecuted this boy had to resign for fabricating evidence in other cases. I just had to put that out there. That's how fucked up family is. All right. I mean, yeah, I'm telling you these stories about my family when I was a little kid, but what about my family? What they're doing to me right fucking now? This happened 2 Decembers ago.
No, I think that crystallizes or paints a picture of American society as a whole. So like you're a dirtbag because you're a punk rocker, according to them, and you're a drug addict and all this stuff. Meanwhile, their kids are chopping up girls and and whatnot, and because okay, you're a bad influence, but meanwhile they're straight-laced lifestyle. Their kids are chopping up neighborhood girls and whatnot, and that's really to me that seems like a paints a perfect picture of American society as a whole, where they look down at like sort of outsiders and what have you. Meanwhile, these outsiders are usually the nicest folks, right? But they're straight-laced nuclear family types. They're the ones with all the skeletons in their closets,
Definitely. And I mean, look, they're all about money. They're all about, doing the straight-laced American way. And then they pushed, all right, he was born in Long Island Jewish Hospital, grew up in Rego Park, and they bombarded Greek culture into him. And I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I know when Jews are like, we're better than you. God likes us. God doesn't like you. And I'm like, that's all you got? I mean, that's it. Okay, I could live with that. And I move on. But with Greeks, it's a lot more. It's like, you couldn't do that math if it wasn't for Pythagoras. You wouldn't even be thinking if it wasn't for Aristotle. Alexander, well, he was great. The Greek gods, well, the Greeks came up and like, all right, I get it. Greek, yeah. Sampras, Pete Sampras, he's Greek. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I get it. And the last thing I told my sister before she blocked me was like, well, now your son is a full-fledged Greek. He's full-fledged in his Greekness now, isn't he? And I'll just leave that at that.
Jeez, that's
Sorry I had to say it like that, but I just had to.
No, that's a
Because I've been
wild
called
story.
a faggot all my life. Faggot. Yeah, I've been called a faggot all my life. Yeah, so there. Here's your Greek son.
So that's a wild story. But I
And a
think it
true
needed to be
story,
said.
unfortunately.
What's that?
And a true story, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's terrible. So your sister used to be a punk rocker though, no? She kind of
She was, and she
Yeah.
got me into music, and she took me to my first concert. She made sure that her sister's best friend's brother took me to Kiss, and when I saw Ace Frehley, I knew that, hey, that's what I want to do. I want to be tore up, fucked up, high as a motherfucker on stage, barely playing fucking lead guitar. And I was on the side of Gene Simmons. And I was like, that's the exact opposite of what my father does. My father works 3 jobs. He's a super, a landlord, a roofer. He's fucking miserable. This guy, he's fucking, look at him. Doesn't even know where he's at. He's fucking having a great time. That's what I want to do. So that's what I ended up doing. And you know what? I was lucky to be with that nerdy kid who knew a lot about music, and if his father didn't force him to stay at home and study, and Dave didn't know his study, he'd scour the radio stations and discover the best music and turn me on to it. And that was incredible. And then as we get older, we learn more. And in junior high school, when we did the band, we were childish about it, but as soon as we got into high school, we knew we were young adults and we couldn't make stupid songs about being on Planet X where everyone just wanted to have sex, like lyrics like that. But we actually wrote lyrics that actually had an urgency because the meaning behind it actually mattered to what was going on in society today. And I can't speak for my family and I can't speak for Dave's family, but I'm just glad that I believed in Dave, because there was a hard time for me believing in someone who ended up committing suicide and throwing his life away with his, addiction to heroin. It seemed like that was the love of his life. And I lost my friend. I talked to Dave's ex-girlfriend that he had for the longest time, Susan. She's like, how do you think I liked with David, blowing me off for heroin? I said, I guess the same way I felt like he blew off the band we had, since, we were junior high kids, for heroin. It just hurts, but then you look back on time and you see that was just the ending to the story. There was a whole story there, but when you're so involved in something, you get caught up in just the ending. But looking back, I was blessed to have a friend like David, and I mean, he taught me to, like, not just him, but to meet a lot of people. It doesn't matter if they're young girls or they're old, wise men. If they have some knowledge to impart onto me that I can, turn into some wisdom, then why not? That's the way I look at it. I'm not too old to learn.
That's a great attitude to have. Yeah, that for me, learning never ends, right? And it always comes from the weirdest places. So when did you and Dave get more serious about, like, politics? I guess you said high school, but
High school.
what was your influences there? Like, what were you guys reading?
Well, I know David's influence, and don't take this the wrong way, but was Goebbels. Joseph Paul Goebbels. It's like he had a serious hard-on for his style. And I mean, I know he's like copying Crass. Crass was a humongous influence, but it was like, if Joseph Paul Goebbels can make a band like Reagan Youth, how would he design this record? Like, it was like, like I could see David, like, like this guy's, propaganda was brilliant, and he loved that Gothic lettering. Oh my God, I want to use that lettering. Or he'd get a book, he'd find a book with a picture of like the Pope's brother, like the Pope's main lawyer shaking hands with Hitler, but it looks like it could be the Pope. And he's like, I ripped it out. It's going to be our second album cover. It's like, oh, great photo, bro. And yeah, there's a reason I know that Caspar Weinberger was the Secretary of Defense for Ronald Reagan to this day. There's a reason I know that Alexander Haig was the Secretary of State. And when Ronald Reagan got shot, he told everyone, I'm in charge. Not George W. Bush, the vice president, but Secretary of State Alexander Haig. There was a Don Regan, not Reagan. There was we had to learn all about his cabinet and where they stood. And there was much like Trump. You had the Star Wars program, like you have Space Force, you had Star Wars program. Seeing what Trump did was like having a replay of Ronald Reagan's presidency. You had this guy who throw the regulations out, the rule of law doesn't apply to like special people. If you're a nobody, you don't count. I'm a somebody. I'm Donald Trump. I can murder someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. I cannot. I will get arrested for an open container of beer or smoking illegal substance like weed. But Donald Trump can murder my ass on Fifth Avenue and no one can touch him. I love, by the way, I just want to bring this up. Big shout out to the French, how hard they've been going since
they've been
Pierre
going real
Joseph.
Hard, burning
Oh my God.
down over there.
Since Pierre Joseph Proudhon and the French Commune, all the way to what they're doing today, I gotta say that the French know how to go hard, and they're fighting for their pensions. You mean they don't have 401ks? They still have pensions there. My father had a pension. They got rid of pensions in America in the 80s, so they didn't get rid of pensions in in France. That's how far ahead they are. And Beatrice and I were talking to one of her friends, and we said, they had the guts to chop off their king's head. And she said, yeah, just because they chopped off some guy's head off a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago, and we're afraid to cuff and fingerprint Trump, and they weren't afraid to chop the motherfucker's head off, okay? And then show the head to everyone. Okay, that's the French, and there's a big difference. And this girl just wanted to focus, but they're racist. It's like, Beatrice, like I'm talking about their protests, but they're racist people. They're racist against blacks and Muslims. It's like, yeah, I'm talking about protest here. You know what I mean? It's like some people could have that tunnel vision, and it just doesn't promote any healthy discourse. There's a lot of like divisive rhetoric going on. And there's one thing David always taught me, and that is don't believe in the divisive rhetoric. And yes, anarchists believe in the rule of law. Maybe they don't believe in rulers, but yes, there are rules that need to be followed. Like don't touch a hot stove. It's not like I'm an anarchist, I'm going to go fucking sit on this hot stove. No. It's not about going buck wild crazy or something that the mass media always likes to inform people of that. And David would, in high school, have me meet with this guy from this band, the Crypt Crashers, Danny Rampant, and we would discuss about, early anarchists like Kropotkin and Bakukin, I think, Mikhail Bakukin. Dave would make pamphlets and draw these Russian anarchists perfectly, like cartoon style. and leave them out at, Rat Cage Records where other punk rockers could like read it. And Jimmy Contra was a Russian anarchist from, what was the name of his band, honey? With Society's Orphan was their song. Virus. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, there you
there
go.
was a lot of cool punk rockers then. And when you look at the New York hardcore scene now, you just see a bunch of knuckleheads. Back then, the New York hardcore scene had a lot of bands that were into that fight war, not wars, in the early 80s to mid 80s. And maybe they weren't the greatest bands in the world, but they were out there. And New York City, they like to tell you it's a liberal city. Bullshit. It's so conservative. You can barely get weed here. And then you go to Republican place like Denver, where they have weed everywhere, but it's conservative. It's so conservative, they let everyone smoke weed. It's like everything is ass backward. You just can't believe what the media tells you. You got to believe what you see with your own eyes, and you got to know that there's always a possibility that there's something more behind what we're seeing, because we're only seeing it from one certain angle of our perception. I hope that sounded good.
No, that's completely right on, and that leads me into something else. In the short time I've known you, one thing that I've appreciated about you is your consistency, or staying sort of true to your roots, I guess. Well, I'll give you an example of what I mean. I was a huge Jello Biafra fan growing up, and when I was a little kid, I hated fucking Reagan, and I was a young man or young kid getting dragged to protest Reagan and fuck Reagan, and then that just translated into like a general fuck all politicians and anti-government stuff. But then so I would in my youth, I thought of Jello as like an anarchist, right? But turns out, and then I saw like a paper he wrote, basically campaigning for Barack Obama, which was, to me, was just fucking awful. It was I felt so betrayed in a sense, or like that was like the moment I knew I had to kill my heroes. It was just it turns out he wasn't really against government or for anarchism. Really, he just didn't like Ronald Reagan, and it's like really the rest of these people are all just Reaganites anyway. Everybody since Reagan, every single one of these politicians have all been Reaganites.
I mean, Clinton was just kept going with that whole Reagan philosophy. You know what I mean? And you know what? When Barack Obama got elected and everyone was cheering in the streets, I remember telling Beatrice, "Look, a bunch of white people cheering, like, hey, look, everyone, we're not racist. We have a black president." Like, no, it's not that simple, just and then of course when two black men get killed by cops in two different states but on the same day, where's Barack Obama meeting the king of Spain? But then he rushes back to America when someone retaliates and kills 5 Dallas police officers. And I got to say this about the Dallas police department. You guys have the worst record of getting your own officers killed. I mean, from JFK on, and I mean, whoa. I mean, how many Dallas police officers have been, like, murdered? Holy crap. Like, you don't think much of your, or that picture where Jack Ruby's killing Harvey Oswald. All of them are not like lunging for the shooter. They're all like got smiles on their face, like, holy shit, I can't believe he's actually doing it. Like, like you could tell in some photographs and, where these people's minds are at. And now they want to get rid of TikTok because TikTok exposes the violent behavior of our militarized police force. I mean, I could go on, and we have to be happy about our lives. I mean, it just can't be just bombardment of bad news, but we have to understand that there is a possibility of change, but we have to at least have the willingness to open our minds to that we have the ability to change. And you know what? We have to start not believing our screens, because I'm pretty sure every tech entrepreneur will not let their children anywhere near a computer screen or a TV screen or any screen. That's just for the masses to follow. And unfortunately, you know what? Yeah, we're using a device like this right now, but 95% of the content out there is just to dumb down the masses even more, unfortunately. And when we had the printing press, when that first appeared, literally wars broke out. And talk about plagiarism, talk about like a bunch of bullshit being fucking spouted. I mean, that was like crazy compared to what's going on now. So at least there's some restraint now. But we have to realize that life doesn't get better if we don't do anything about it. And Jesus, Muhammad, and Moses did not give us weekends off and a 9-to-5 workday. A lot of blood was spilled. A lot of socialist blood, a lot of anarchist blood, a lot of communist blood was spilled right here in the United States. And yes, unions as well. And what are unions? They're for the working man. What's communism? It's for the working man, but yet they're different. That's like saying New York is liberal when there's conservatism everywhere, and Denver is conservative when they're just letting people have guns and marijuana, probably mushrooms now, and that's not conservative in my eyes at all. That's pretty open-minded. That's liberal.
Yeah,
I know it's getting 3 more minutes. We got 3 more minutes till a hard stop at 3:15.
Oh, thank you. I was almost I lost track of time myself. It was a good conversation.
Can you tell Paul to stop saying the R word and the F word?
All right, I'll stop saying those words. I'm sorry.
But you
What's
know,
the R
that's
word?
a generation, right?
I'm olden in the way I admit it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, he comes from a different time, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I honestly had to I had to stop myself from retrain myself from saying those two, because
I don't say it out in public, but when I'm like trying to be painfully honest around people, yeah, I know this is public, but I mean, this is when I'm trying to be painfully honest. I need to talk what's in my heart.
I don't think I don't think you say it from a place of
Hatred.
hatred.
I don't have anything against. And listen, I'm in the music business. To think that there haven't been homosexuals in the music business before is ludicrous. And I always knew they were in the music business, and I always accepted them being in the music business. And I think it's kind of utterly ridiculous for people to say things like, when you hire my band, I don't want any gay employees of yours working that night, you know? And I know bands have said that to venues in New York City, and I don't want to say who, but yikes. Yeah, I know that bands say shit like that. Yeah.
In the New York hardcore scene?
Yeah, but like, you know what? Who cares? Who cares? Like, we don't speak for them.
It's a silly and simple-minded way to think about the world, but
for real.
And that's why we're anarchists. Anarchists is for the liberation of all humans to the fullest extent possible, full fucking stop. You know,
absolutely.
So
yes, I love that. And libertarians to me are anarchists, but with a racist, bigoted slant.
Yes,
there is a lot of that. Yeah, there is a lot of that. I won't say that's true for every single one, but there is a lot.
No, not for every single one, but they do seem to attract a lot of that. Hey, listen, I'm going to build a road for me and my peoples, and your peoples can go fuck off somewhere else. Like, you know, not like, hey, how do we solve this problem together for the benefit of us all, which can be done.
It can. Yeah, it just takes, you know, cooperation and cooler heads, really.
You know what? When I was in, let me just end with this. When I was in learning about European history, and I learned about World War I, there's 3 tracts of land in Ukraine with like the richest soil on the planet. And my history professor said during that time, you know, during World War I, they could have fed grain and sunflower oil for the entire planet just from those 3 tracts of land. in the Ukraine. It is that rich and fertile and amazing. And yeah, the Russians have taken it over and are shipping grain all over the place. It's like a blessing and yet a curse, because I know the Soviets, when they took it over, they had scientists come in there and kind of fucking fuck it up. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we have been given a planet that has given us enough to nourish each and every one of us. And only because of hatred between mankind, and I'm not going to say the human race, because I don't believe humans should be racing with each other. And I don't know how they got the word race from ethnicity, and I'm not talking about skin color. I'm not talking about religion. I'm just talking about, if you look like a human and you sound like a human, you're a human. I don't believe in the fascist argument that just because someone looks human and sounds human doesn't make him human. Why shouldn't I throw a cripple off a ledge? Why is it a crime to kill someone that's past the age of 70? That's the fascist argument that people will like to bring up. And once they bring that up, they're talking about throwing the rule of law out the window. Please, I want your listeners to know something. Don't fall for that. This is the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. We are not animals. We have learned how not to run away from fire, but to harness the ability of fire. And with that, we are able to live not like animals, but like human beings. And we should not be in a race with each other. And so we shouldn't use the word race anymore, because there is no race. There should be harmony amongst one another.
Yes.
I agree. Very well said. Yeah. And
I want to end on a positive note.
All right. That's probably good. But next time I want to talk about the sort of resurgence of that fascist line of thinking that we're seeing in honestly in common politics right now, just being floated about. Like, well, why shouldn't we just take all the old people off of life support or whatever? It's like comes from like a weird scarcity mindset in some sense. But
yes, and it's like, don't believe in science. Science is not going to solve our problems. You know what I mean? And a lot of it is when you look at Hitler, and he wrote Mein Kampf. In Mein Kampf, he talks about America and how America was able to get civilized when a bunch of Norwegian and German people left, the Norwegian and Germanic countries and went and tamed the Wild West. And he said, and these were German, Germanic people, Norwegian people that couldn't hack it. So they're the second best. And look what they were able to do to savages. And you know what? That was like that Hitler way of thinking. There's a war. It's either us or them. Yep. And that's what the politics of today are. It's like it's either us or them. It's either libtards or conservatards. It's less filling, tastes great. Less filling, tastes great. Retarded. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word.
You're gonna get in trouble.
I know. I gotta stop. She's right. I do.
Potty now.
All right. So until next time, and next time we'll get deep into that, because that is definitely something that has affected. It's heavy and it's affecting us all. And I'm sure it's affected our families and affected our friends. I know it's affected my family and friends.
And friends, yes. We love some friends.
Yeah. We'll definitely do that next time for sure. Remind me if I forget, because my memory is fucking terrible.
All right. And you were very cohesive, and couldn't tell that, you're tripping balls. Couldn't tell that.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thanks again for coming on, and everybody listening. We're gonna do this as long as Paul's still into it, or we still have something to talk about. So look forward to more of these coming up. And Paul, have yourself a good weekend, and stop saying the R word.
I will. Peace.
Peace, brother.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah. That's cute.
Yeah.
I like how you start. It makes things more interesting.